Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here. Got a really cool show today. I'm really excited. I'm not sure that we've ever really talked about this specific. I mean, we've talked around it, but I don't think we've actually ever, dived into to this topic. And I'm even more excited about who I have here to help share it with us. Shane Thompson is with us today, and I'm going to give him a proper welcome. Shane, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Good to be here. Happy to be on here and share a little bit about real estate.
Yeah, it's such a cool topic. And Shane's story, you guys are going to love, because this is so unique in that Shane works for RP Capital and has for years. But before that, Shane was actually a client, which is really, really cool. And Shane's one of our investment property specialists, and he's really, really good at walking people through something that can be, something that people think is complicated and difficult, and actually can be complicated and difficult in a really simplistic, easy way, and makes people feel comfortable about something that's, for a lot of people, especially the first time, is kind of a big deal. Shane, your first time, was it kind of a big deal?
Oh, yeah. So it was 2011, first property we bought. And I think it was a fairly easy transition for me, but my wife was not as quickly on board as I was. That definitely took some long late night conversations, to help her understand what I had come to understand. And yeah, I was back. I watched you do a live presentation, Ron, in 2011. And the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, this just makes sense. It clicked. And I was ready to go full speed ahead. And then it took a little bit to get my wife on board, but not long though. A couple weeks, and we had our first property under contract, and it was awesome. And went from there.
Yeah, it's been really fun watching the progression of all of this for your family. So what I'd like to talk to everybody about today and kind of help everybody understand is that progression that you went through. Everybody listening either has gone through it or could go through it. And now you're in the position of actually walking people through that, which is pretty unique, having done it first, and then actually now being able to walk people through it. And I want to talk through, what is that like, and what can people expect? Because we talk about wealth plan all the time, and I think people have heard that enough. They kind of understand that that's something that we do. But let's walk through what that is, and what it's like on the first call, and what you're trying to help them accomplish. And let's just kind of walk through a wealth plan together, and I'll ask you some questions, but I know everybody listening will be interested to hear how this works.
Yeah, for sure. So when we get on a wealth plan call, first it's about finding out what the goals are of that person. What are they looking to accomplish? Where are they at? And not just numbers goals, but life goals. Looking to really see what they want their life to look like, and then we just show them a vehicle that can help them get to that point. But understanding the why of where they want to get and why they want to get there.
That's so important too, because a lot of people come. I remember when I was doing appointments that people would come and they're entirely focused on money. And then when you kind of step back and start asking them the why questions, really they're not focused on money. Really, they're focused on what does this give me in the end, and connecting to that helps people I know it helps me all the time. I try to connect things with what am I actually here trying to accomplish. I think that's something that that sets you apart in the industry, and all of our investment property specialists, is that we actually try to figure that out first. And why, other than what we just said, why is that so important that you know what it is that they're trying to accomplish?
Because it keeps you going, and it keeps you focused on the long term. Because it can be easy in the short term to get tripped up on, a tenant issue that comes up that costs a few $100s to repair this or that. And sometimes you can get so hyper focused on that you lose track of the big picture and what you're really trying to accomplish, and where this property is going to help you be in say 5 years, and the piece that it plays in that master plan. And there is going to be turbulence along the way, but in those long term projections we show in the pro formas, those are factored in there. We show the average performance of these properties, and so it just helps you go through the potholes a little bit to know where you're still going to end up in the long run.
Okay, Shane. So we've walked through kind of like why I've called you. What's next?
Yeah. So then we look at the specifics of what you're trying to accomplish. How much is going to cost to get to that goal of that lifestyle, or what you're trying to do, and what time frame are you looking to accomplish that? And so then we look at how to get you there and bridge that gap to actually fulfill what you're looking to do, and with what resources you have to do, and how we can get there, with what options are the best suited for your specific, risk tolerance, timing, those types of things. And then we can look at what properties can help you get at those numbers. And we have this amazing program software that we have put together, where it's so easy to plug in pro formas and properties and make adjustments to them for someone's specific scenarios. And I mean, you can do it in seconds. It's really powerful to be able to see, and in such a short amount of time, that, okay, yeah, if you do this and this and this, then realistically this projects based on tons of historical data. We don't know for sure what's going to happen in the future, but based on as much information as we can possibly gather, this is where you can reasonably expect to be in your goal of 5 years, 10 years, with monthly cash flow, with equity, those types of things. And there's just no other way to do that I'm aware of with this type of investment vehicle of these passive long-term buy and hold investment properties.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things that you bring to the table is that you have this long, you're talking about, holding this stuff for long term. And, sometimes that gets boring, man. It's just like, you have these investments are just sitting out there, and, unless something goes wrong, you really don't interface with them. They're not in your backyard. Yours aren't in your backyard. But you have unique, I guess, experience of having bought in 2011, and now it's 13 years later, multiple I don't know how many properties, but it's a lot, because I see them I see them when you're. In addition to that, I should say to everybody, it's one thing to say something. It's a whole other thing to walk the walk and talk the talk. And Shane does. Shane's buying the exact same properties as everybody else is buying right out of the inventory, like most of the people in our company do. So over time, you've not only had the one property that's performed however it's performed, and honestly, guys, I don't know how it's performed. I don't know how Shane's portfolio does, but he continues to buy properties, so I assume they're doing well. So over time, you've had this experience of being able to have multiple properties over a long period of time and seeing what they're able to do. Walk somebody through. You just talked about like the historical data. What's the historical data for you and your family? What has been the impact from number one property in 2011 to today, when you've done multiple 1031s, I think, and you bought a lot of properties? How has life changed?
Yeah, I mean, life has obviously changed a lot. Well, I say obviously because you know that, but so I used to work in construction management. I was working a full-time job, very demanding, building hospitals, and through our portfolio of the investment properties we owned, and then working with RP Capital, and got to the point where it's just like, why am I going through the stress of going to a job site every day? And it just provides options. The more cash flow you have coming in, that you can look at your life and have options of changing it and making it for the better. And it just brought that goal in closer. Because when we first started our journey, I was 27, and I remember running a retirement calculator based on how much we were contributing through like mutual funds and kind of the standard way. And I can't remember the specifics, but I remember thinking, okay, great. When I'm 59 and a half, I'll be set. I'll have more than enough to retire. But what good is that to wait till I'm 59 and a half? I want to pull that date up to 55 or 50 or 45, whatever that is. That would be more important to me to improve my quality of life earlier than wait and then have this large lump sum at the end. And so we started on that path, and it happened a lot sooner for us than we expected, which has been great. But to be more specific, on average, what I tell people is that in 4 to 7 years, I'd say probably the average is about 5 years, your property, your down payment has doubled. So say you put $50,000 down on a property, in 5 years, you're able to sell that property, calculate the fees you're going to pay to the agent to list it, closing costs, vacancy, maintenance, all those things calculated in. Roughly, you've doubled your down payment. So your money doubled in 5 years. Then you can sell that, do a 1031 exchange, buy 2 more properties, and double your portfolio. And it didn't cost any more money out of your pocket in that second 5 years. The property is paying for 2 more properties to replace itself with.
Yeah, it's we look at it like a family tree, right? Like you have one property. That property is able to produce a couple of properties, and then each one of those produces a couple. Now you've got 4. And it just multiplies. The thing in the short term, like you were talking about before, Shane, is that there's just not a whole lot that happens in the first couple of years. It's a little bit, I use the word boring, but it's a little bit boring until that first turnover of properties and the birth of other properties without you putting another single dime into it. That's when it starts to go, oh my gosh, this is actually real. Like, I actually made some legit money here, and I've doubled my investments. And until then, I mean, it's cool. There's an investment out there. It's just, we've put some really cool tools together to help people see that more on a regular basis. But when I started, and when you started, and when a lot of people listening started, none of that existed. You just had to just sit around and wait, and not really see what was going on with your properties. But it's really cool today. You can actually see in real time what's actually happening with them, and you can see the progression.
Yeah, definitely. And it just changes your perspective. I remember, especially when we did a first cash out refinance, was the first thing we did with that first property, and got a large lump sum, and we're able to buy another property with that and hang on to the property that we had because it was still cash flowing well, still doing great. And I was like, man, I remember being so stressed when we bought the property. It appraised for like $2,000 lower than the purchase price, and the seller was like, I'm not coming down. He's like, I know I could sell this for more to someone else, and I will do it if I need to. And I was so stressed over it. I lost sleep. I was like, man, am I getting ripped off here because I'm paying $2,000 more than it appraised for? And I was so hard for me. And then we went ahead and did it. And then when we did that first refinance and pulled like $50,000 out, I just laughed, at my own insecurities earlier.
And you pulled out, for clarification for anybody who doesn't know, if you don't know this, his cash out refinance was tax free. So he got $50,000 that he pulled out, and he didn't have to pay any taxes on it. And then he went and bought another property with it. That's how the birthing happens of more and more properties without you putting any more money. Now, you speed that up like you've done, Shane, with buying other properties as you save your own money up. But then that just accelerates everything that much more, because each one of those properties is out there doing the thing that Shane just talked about. Every 5 years, you should be able to buy another property, another property, another property. Until you actually experience it, it's hard to actually fathom that happens. And then once you get it, it's a little bit like an addiction. And
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Then it was like, how do I do this more often? This is incredible.
I'll take a little bit more of that $50,000 cash out refinance. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the wealth plan, because so we get down. We've talked about types of properties, which ones match what I'm trying to accomplish, and then what?
Yeah. So then once we find a match, then it's super easy to really just move forward with a contract, and just get going. You can pay lots of money for education and other places and things like that, but I kind of explain it that basically what us as investment property consultants do is we basically wear a franchise mentor is the term that I use a lot. It's basically a hat that says, look, you don't have to know everything before moving forward and getting this going and starting to make money. I'm here for you long term. I've owned lots of properties. I've been through this process. I know the insurance company. I know, all these things that you might get hung up on. We can figure it out as we go and answer those questions. Just a phone call away, even after you close. I don't disappear. Your investment property consultant is the first point of contact with RP Capital from now on, and they're there to help you out through anything that comes up along the way. And that's really valuable, because if you started just in some new industry without a franchise mentor, it's overwhelming. There's all this information and all these things you need to know. But if someone can say, hey, here's a proven process, we already know it works, and you're far less likely to experience any, the turbulence and things that it does come, but you know how to deal with it when those things come because of resources. Yeah.
And I find that most of the people that that we're able to help get that, because most people have owned real estate. Look, you've owned real estate out there. You know, things happen with real estate. That's just how it is. You're not going to own a house of any kind and never have a problem with it. That's not feasible. That's not what's going to happen. However, if you have a property that's cash flowing and producing income, that income should be able to cover when those things happen over time. And the real money is made, as Shane was saying, from equity buy down and from appreciation gain. Those two increase your equity spread in the property. That's where the real money is made. And so if you think about the cash flow as the working capital in your business, that's the piece that keeps the business running, right? And the rest of this is, you hear about these people who exit their businesses for, huge amounts of money. That's kind of how each one of these little properties is like a business. You can exit those for a good little chunk of money, and then you can go invest in other little businesses that do the same thing, and you just keep growing your portfolio. And one day you're PepsiCo, and you got all these little houses out there all over the place. Cash Flow Co. We should probably change the name, Shane, from PepsiCo to Cash Flow Co. or something like that. So I think the most important thing I heard from you is, look, we're going to help you from start to finish, and then we're just going to keep repeating the process. And the most important thing is we're going to try our hardest to prepare you to take action. And I think that's the piece that I think that a lot of people miss out on if they are self-educating, is that they never actually get to the place where they feel comfortable enough to pull the trigger. And I think one of the cool things about your experience and then being able to help people is that all of us were there at one point in time. You're able to speak through, look, you can just get past this point. It gets really, really easy after that. And I love that about our team, where we can help people actually take action instead of just sit around and get more and more and more and more. I mean, listen, you should be educating yourself anyway, but taking action is the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely. And another common question that I get is, well, how do I know when the right time is to cash out, refinance, or sell the property? And that's another big part of what we do. Is every year we do an annual review of your portfolio, and sit down and look at what has actually happened in the market, the rents and the value, because we can do projections all day long, but it makes more sense to do it each year and see where you're actually at. And then we run some numbers and calculate it and see, okay, this is what the numbers show. And then it's still totally your call. There may be some other reason that you don't want to sell the property besides the numbers, or and that's up to you. But we'll just give you as much information as possible to let you make a good decision and take advantage and maximize your returns in that time. And so that piece, I kind of explained, that hat that we wear is really kind of like a financial advisor. To be clear, I'm not a licensed financial advisor because I'm not licensed in stocks and bonds and securities and things like that. But we take this investment vehicle that we do understand and have the software and everything to put it together and show you how to maximize those returns.
Yeah. I talk about it as high tech with high touch. If you only had the tech, it probably wouldn't work as well. And, the high touch works because back when I started doing this, there was no, when I actually first started in real estate, we went and like looked up microfiche in the, it was, yeah, you can laugh about it, but that's where the county records were until they got digitized, man. They were in this microfiche thing, which was
a lot of
such
people
a
thought
pain.
you were just talking about small fish in a pond.
No, I don't even know. I don't think anybody still has that. But you'd probably have to Google it to see what it is, Shane, because you're a young buck. But you had to actually go to the county courthouse and you had to like roll through these. Like it was such a joke. Anyway, you don't have to do that anymore. You could do it with no tech, but it's a heck of a lot easier to have the tech and then couple that with high touch and really be able to help people understand what in the world is going on with their investments. And I think to this whole other level, a couple of shows ago, and probably for I don't know how many shows forever, I've talked about the fact that your stockbroker can only tell you if your stock went up or down. Cool thing with real estate is that Shane gets to tell you whether your house went up or down, but also how much somebody paid off of your loan, also how much cash flow you got, also how much tax incentive you got on the gains that you already received that you didn't have to pay taxes on. All of those things working at the same time, so that in the eventual year that your property value actually goes down, it's not the end of the world. You still have 3 returns working. It's
it's a much more fun conversation to have than that broker that the values have just gone down and that's it. That was the only way to make money.
Yeah, everything just got cut in half. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry.
Yeah, it sucks. But yeah, I do love that part. That's my favorite part of working here is helping people when there's options, because there is that equity, there's money to be had there, and there's money to make for them in their portfolio by using these flexible options and more advanced stuff.
So, Shane, what would you say to the listener out there who has thought about doing this for a while? Clearly you were nervous. Your wife was really nervous about jumping into real estate. What would you tell them about the wealth planning process that maybe they hadn't thought of, that should tell them whether they should do it or shouldn't do it?
There's no risk. It's purely exploratory and just finding out where you're at, what we would recommend for you to improve your returns, and then just start with one. It can feel daunting to feel like, oh man, I'm going to do this for 10 years and I'm going to have 20 properties or whatever the plan's going to show, but just focus on one at a time. Way easier to eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? And just start, see how it feels, go through the process, and go from there.
Well, man, I love, first off, love having you on the team. Love that you're a part of the team. And Shane can attest, we have been blessed with amazing people. We have amazing people in the company. Everyone better than the next, fantastic human beings. Shane is one of them, man. I appreciate your perspective, Shane, because I think, just because again of that length of experience that you have of both being a customer and then also working here and being able to help so many other people, hundreds of other people. I think it's I think it's a unique perspective everybody got to hear today. I appreciate that you came and shared. Any final words?
No, just I think we've hit it pretty good, but I just want to say get out there and make something happen. But
I love it. I love it. Shane's going to close the show, everybody. Shane's going to close the show. Till next week. You're on, Shane. Till next week.
Get out there and make something happen.
Yes.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.